بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. Today it is Thursday and it is 9th of June 2022. And in our broadcasts, reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 323. And these days we are looking at chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 102. And this is the fourth broadcast in that series, in looking at the use of the words in that verse of the Holy Quran. These broadcasts are brought to you by LASER, Lahore Ahmadiyya School for Education in Religion, and it is a department of the Lahore Ahmadiyya Anjuman or Lahore Ahmadiyya movement, also known as Ahmadiyya Anjuman Ishaat Islam. The Ahmadiyya movement was founded by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib, Rahmatullah Alayh, who taught that although non-Ahmadi Muslims, many of them believe that after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, prophethood continues, this is incorrect, because the Holy Prophet Muhammad, because the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet Muhammad was Khatamun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet explained its meaning by saying, La Nabi Abadi, there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet shall come, whether an old one or a new one. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said that in accordance with the Hadith, which speaks about coming of reformers, he was a reformer in a long chain of reformers. But he said his distinction was that other ahadith speak of the coming of a Messiah and Mahdi, and those titles applied to him. He was the Messiah and the Mahdi. And he pointed out to Muslims that on small differences they start calling each other kafirs and heretics and all manner of things. But he pointed out that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima, you are a heretic, you are a kafir, then this edict of kufr, of heresy, falls upon the person saying it. He is the one who's a kafir. So this is a very serious matter, and only God can judge who's a Muslim and who's good and who's bad and so on. He hasn't given us any authority. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib also taught that people say that some prophetic revelation is not included in the Holy Quran. It's missing, like Ayah Rajab. And people also say that the order, the command, some verses of the Holy Quran has been abrogated. But he said this is wrong, because God says, I'm revealing it and I'll guard it. So if God is guarding the Holy Quran and His revelation, how can it be that something can be left out? And how can it be that something is in it and its order has to be abrogated? And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said that non-Ahmadi brothers say that jihad means taking the sword and attacking non-Muslims. And if they don't embrace Islam, then killing them. He said jihad does not mean that. The Holy Prophet's definition of jihad was that on returning from fighting, the Holy Prophet is reported to have said that Muslims are returning from the minor jihad to the major jihad. And then he went on to explain that the major jihad is jihad bin nafs, a struggle to control your own desires, your own self, to contain your greed and your hatred and your arrogance and what have you. But yes, it's true that if you're attacked with the sword, then you respond with the sword. But in the normal course of events, jihad is actually controlling yourself, jihad bin nafs. So let's turn to the Holy Quran, chapter 2, verse 102. As I've explained previously, it's a very long verse, and I'll only recite the parts that we are going to consider. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان walakin الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر. And they follow what the devils fabricated against the kingdom of Solomon. And actually, literally, Mulki Sulaiman means kingdom of Solomon, rule of Solomon. But some people translate that as prophethood of Solomon. And they follow what the devils fabricated against the kingdom of Solomon. But Solomon disbelieved not, but the devils disbelieved, teaching men enchantment. So today we are going to carry on. And in fact, the words we are going to look at were repeated in the previous broadcast. But because I try to make each broadcast self-contained, rather than saying to people, go and look at yesterday's or last week's broadcast, we will briefly discuss them again. So the words we're going to look at are Sulaiman, where are we? Walakin shaytan and kafaru. And you might have noticed that, as I said, we've looked at them previously. But there's no harm in sort of revising these things. I mean, it freshens my memory as well. So, Sulaiman is, we know, Solomon, the prophet, Holy Prophet Solomon, and it is a proper noun. And well, that's about it, really. And it's used in many places in the Holy Quran, like this verse, and so on. So that's the first word. That was easy. The next one is an expression rather than a word. Walakin. So it has two parts, two segments as they're called. There's some technical name for actually morphological segments. So I can never remember that, but I looked it up in my notes. So, and the two parts are wa, which means and. Lakinna, that is the second part of the word. So, and the next one is the word shaytan. And again, like Solomon, this is a proper noun. And that is something's or someone's name. And we know that this is, there are a number of different names. One is called, for the same thing, such as Iblis and Shaitan. In English, you say Satan, which is the same thing. And so it is the name of the being, generally thought to be an angel that refused to obey Allah and thought that he was superior to Adam, so he refused God's command. So that's one use, that it's a proper noun. And another use is it's used metaphorically. Actually, yes, it's used as a common noun, and it's applied metaphorically to human beings who share this quality with Satan, with Shaitan, that they copy or display some of his characteristics. The most prominent one being disobedience. And it's a common phraseology in many languages. In Urdu, if someone is very naughty and doesn't listen to the parents or the teachers, they say he's very naughty. He's a shaitan. He's the Satan. He's so naughty. He's so rebellious, and so on. And you say the same thing in English, don't you? You say a child who's very naughty, you say, oh, he's a little devil, isn't he? And so, but let's look at its root is sheen or noon. And we'll look at look at it in a little bit more detail. In that, some people say that noon is a part of it. The word itself, other people say no, it's not. And those who say that noon is a part of it, they say its root is sheen or noon, and it means distance. And Iblis, by refusing to obey God, he distanced himself from God. So that is that. Some people say that no, noon is not actually a part of the word. In the same way as in the last word we looked at, walakin. I said wa is simply and. So they say it's like that, and they say if you follow that theory, then the root becomes sheen, and hamza and ba, which means literally to become hot with anger. I mean, generally people say anger, but there are many emotions where your blood flows, and your face becomes red and your ears burn and so on. But anger is the most common one, and we have things like he's burning with anger. And now some people point to chapter 55 verse 15. Khalaqal sorry, there was a cursor in the way. Khalaqal janna min marijim min narin. Chapter 55 verse 15. And the jinn were created from fire. And some people think jinn and shaitan are synonymous. And the notes I got from the dictionary, the gentleman says the same thing, but it's not necessarily so. The term, the expression shaitan, devil, is used for every entity that is rebellious, disobedient, whether it is jinn or humans or other animals. The Quran itself refers to this. In chapter 6, verse 13, when it says, Shayateen al jinni wal ins. And that is that shayateen, devils, satans, from men and the jinn. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Quran is lightening some people because of their qualities, their characteristics, their characters, to shaitan, to the devil. Like the example I gave earlier on about, a child who's cheeky and disobedient and so on. You say, oh, he's a devil. Again, in another place, chapter 6, verse 122, the Holy Quran says, وَإِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ لَيُوحُونَ. And shaitan, Satan, puts in people's hearts. And many people, when translating that, when explaining that, they say, shaitan, how shall I say, people bearing a resemblance to shaitan, evil people, they put things into people's hearts. So here the Holy Quran itself is saying, because of their characteristics, there are some people who are akin to devil. They put doubts in people's hearts. They put rebellion in people's hearts, and so on. In another place, the Holy Quran, I think it's chapter 37, verse 65, it says, "Ka'annahu ru'usu shayateen," and like the devil's head. And people have said, but what it means and all this kind of thing. But there is a hadith. I haven't noted the reference, but anyway, the hadith says that the Holy Prophet Muhammad said that jealousy is shaitan and anger is shaitan, is the devil. So you see, the point is this, that the excessive use of any emotion, uncontrolled anger, uncontrolled jealousy, uncontrolled hatred and enmity, they're all the devil's work. They're all regarded as devil. And I mean, the Holy Quran tackles this in many, many ways. For example, it says, don't let the hatred of a people force you to act unjustly towards them. Because that hatred is the devil that's putting things in your heart. He belongs to this sect, he belongs to this religion. So that's okay. You can be unfair with him and so on. So the next word, as I said, kafaru. Let's have a look at that. I can find my notes, which I can't see. Oh, here we are, yes. Its root, the triliteral root, is kaaf, fa, ra. And those three letters are used to make 14 words which we find in the Holy Quran. And together they occur how many times? 525 times in the Holy Quran. And sorry about that. And they 289 times as kafara, and 129 times as kafirun, and what else is there? 37 times as kufr, 27 times as kafir, 14 times as kafara, and 12 times as kafur, and then other words made from these three letters, which occur less frequently, like bonds, or 2-3 times, and so on. And as I've explained previously, that although in narrow terms, and we have restricted most of the terminology of the Holy Quran to very narrow meanings and so on. And that is that anyone who denies God's existence, or the Holy Quran, or the Holy Prophet, and so on. But the actual meaning of the word is to hide. Night. The same word is used for night. Why? Because it hides everything. Darkness hides everything. Same word is used for a farmer, because when he plants seeds in the ground, he hides them in the soil. The same word is used for the grave. Why? Because the grave covers up and hides a dead body. But as I said, in many countries, these words of Arabic, which have a broad meaning, have become restricted to narrow religious definitions. But even the Holy Quran uses them in other ways. Now, you see, if you study the Holy Quran, you have kufrun. So, what are you hiding? You're hiding God's blessings. So, this word means ungrateful. It doesn't mean, if it applies to a Muslim, it doesn't mean that you're not a Muslim. It means you are an ungrateful person. You could be ungrateful to God, you could be ungrateful to your parents, you could be ungrateful to your government. The list is a long one. But what's regarded as a major sin is, of course, the denial of Allah, his existing, or his existence, or his uniqueness. I was going to say unity, but say God is one. No, say God is unique. He embodies all the goodness and so on. But that's a different topic. Anyway, so, and again, Revelation, the Holy Quran, any of the prophets, etc. And the word kufran is generally used to deny some blessing of Allah. You see, the Holy Quran itself is a blessing of Allah. So you should remember that as well. And if you deny the Holy Quran, or you don't follow the Holy Quran, even, there are books and compendiums. There's a whole branch taught in many madrasas. Well, it used to be taught. I don't know if it's still taught or not. It's called Hila and Hujjat, which shows that, people went out of their way to find ways to pretend they were not being ungrateful, although they were. There is an example which says that, a man asks, I have to go and give evidence in court, and I'll be swearing an oath on the Holy Quran to speak the truth. But if I speak the truth, the person in whose favor I'm appearing as a witness, he lose. To make him win, I have to lie. But then I'll be swearing an oath on the Holy Quran to say I'm telling the truth. So what do I do? And that man is told that, look at the judge. If you know, if you can see that he knows something about religion, and what you do is this. You put your hand on the Holy Quran and you say, I swear to tell the truth and blah, 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 blah. And then when you finish, then in a very gentle, soft voice, which the judge can't hear because he knows what you will mean by this, you say, Inshallah. Just whisper it. But if you think that the judge doesn't know this, then what you do is you put your hand on the Holy Quran and you say, I swear by Holy Quran, I'll tell the truth and blah, blah, blah. And then you say, Inshallah. And then proceed to lie. Because what you said is, I'll tell the truth if God wills. So if you're lying, it's God's will that you should lie. Now, using that sort of trickery is actually being ungrateful. And it comes close to actually denying the Holy Quran and its guidance. Because you're just using trickery. I mean, do you think you can trick God? He's not going to know what's in your mind and what's in your heart. And that this is why over and over again the Holy Quran says that people are ungrateful. Chapter 86, verse 83. وَأَكْثَرُهُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. And most of them are not heretics, not out of fold of Islam. Most of them are ungrateful. Because the Quran doesn't say it, that I'm adding that because of the way they behave, because of the way they try and find tricks to get away with not having to follow the Holy Quran. We've slightly gone over our time. So with a prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, I take my leave of you. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.